Okay, so for my final project, I did option two, which was COVID-19 unemployment, and my state is the state of California. So California's unemployment rate in April 2020 was 16.0%, which was 1.3% more than the US unemployment rate. And as you can see in the graph, there is a huge spike in unemployment beginning of 2020. As it like before 2020, it was hovering around 4 or 5%, but then it shoots up past 15, and it's much higher than the U.S. national rate. In the state of California, the max unemployment benefits were $450 per week, plus $600 in additional benefits or additional relief. The max you could get was 26 weeks of benefit, so that brings out to a total of $12,300. And $450 per week is about middle of the road, or slightly higher than middle of the road for most unemployment benefits. For increases in unemployment benefits on January 1st, 2019, benefits ranged from $50 to a maximum of $1,252. And in 2021, the weekly benefits was $1,350 per week. So that leads to a 7.8% increase in weekly unemployment benefits. And this is obviously due to the CARES Act, which gave a lot of money to states to provide unemployed benefits for people who are out of work. The CARES Act benefits and how they differ between lower wage workers and higher wage workers. For lower wage workers, according to the Upjohn Institute for Employment Research, it was extremely successful in raising average earnings at the bottom of the distribution. The CARES Act dramatically increased the income of retail workers and barbers. And for people who had higher paying jobs before, they received higher benefits just because of how the benefits were calculated. And many economists feared that this would increase the wealth gap between people with higher wages and lower wages. Permanent and temporary layoffs from March 2020 to April 2020, there was a 137% increase in permanent job loss in the state of California. And then in 2020, from March to April, there was a 977% increase in temporary layoffs. So a huge layoff problem. And temporary layoffs would not factor into the unemployment rate. So that big 977% increase would not affect the unemployment rate because they are temporary layoff, and they would likely receive a job within 4 weeks, which after 4 weeks, if they didn't have a job, then they'd be considered unemployed. But the permanent job loss would likely not factor in the unemployment rate either, because those who permanently lost their job, they might become discouraged, and discouraged workers are not part of the labor force. But if they lost their job permanently for shorter than 4 weeks, then yes, they would, or for longer than 4 weeks without being discouraged, then they would be considered in the unemployment percentage. And then coronavirus recessions compared to other recessions, the Great Depression, Black Thursday caused a stock market crash, and the New Deal was a series of government programs and reforms, and that was their way of recovering from the Depression. 2008 recession, government bought the debt of housing-related U.S. government agencies, which helped the housing market, which was the main cause of the recession. But unlike those two, the coronavirus, the CARES Act, and stay-at-home orders were recovery plans, and evidently the stay-at-home orders to keep people safe from the virus caused people to lose their jobs in large numbers because most people couldn't work from home. So when the government forced people to stay at home, they were out of work and out of a job. And then here are my references.